A father puts a camera in his 1-year-old daughter's coffin, but suddenly a notice arrives. Tonight, Michael had an argument with his mother. It wasn't their first quarrel. The woman was the director of a large division in the laboratory of a local pharmaceutical institute. She was used to being bossy, brutal, and demanding. At work, maybe that helped her. Otherwise, the employees would sit on your shoulders and the students would turn you around their finger. In a pharmaceutical laboratory, everything must be clear, strict, and accurate down to the milligram. It was the students, especially the newcomers, who were guilty of negligence. Only discipline and rules brought to automaticity could convince them of their correctness. That's what Michael's mother thought, and she was partly right. Do you know, for example, how many times you have to thoroughly clean a test tube? At the institute and the department, they know exactly that. 10 times, and only then will there be no particles left in the glass tube from previous samples. So the students absorb these skills from the very first days. Did you get distracted when you were washing? Start counting and rinsing again, or you're out of the institute. Laboratorians were subject to equally harsh requirements, and unfortunately, the director carried it all over her housemates. As a young girl, she had been taught how to wash test tubes properly, but no one had taught her to abstract away and leave these problems outside the home. Thus, 5 years after being appointed director, the woman lost her husband. He just left for another woman, saying that he was tired of living at home with the director. He needed a wife at home. So Michael was left alone with his mother. He was already 17 at the time. By and large, he could have gone with his father or become independent and lived on his own. But Michael was a real man and just couldn't leave his mother alone. She continued to control him like she had when he was a child, but Michael vindicated his rights as best he could. "Mom, I'm not 15 years old anymore," he'd say. "That's just it. You should have known by now that there was nothing more important than discipline." "Mom, I'm 18. I'm not a kid." Michael barely fended her off. And then he just went into the army. It was easy for him. He even thought about serving in the military on a contractual basis. But then suddenly he got a letter from her, saying that her health had taken a bad turn. Of course, Michael had dropped out of the army and rushed over immediately. Then it turns out there was no deterioration in her health. Once again, the mother was determined to influence her son in this way. She didn't like what her son was doing, and she didn't care much about what he liked. That's how they lived until Michael met Emily. Of course, Michael fell in love and wanted to get married, and that's when things got tough. As ill luck would have it, Emily turned out to be the student at the very institute where his mother worked. Well, in fact, it was the only one in town, so any girl who didn't want to be without an education either went to other towns or studied here. Every one of them had faced Michael's mother somehow or another. One day he decided to confess to his mother that he intended to make a proposal to his girlfriend and get married. She was interested and took the very idea very positively and wanted to meet her future daughter-in-law. The mother began to wonder where the girl was studying, for she couldn't admit the idea of her son bringing a girl with no education. Michael told his mother that the girl was studying at her institute, and it later turned out that the mother obviously knew her. Emily wasn't only willful, but also defiant. She wasn't expelled just because she was an excellent student. In his mother's opinion, that insolent girl should have been expelled a long time ago. "Over my dead body," said the mother to her son, making sure it was the girl she thought. "Mom, don't worry. Emily knows whose son I am. She doesn't mind." Michael made a careless joke. "Oh, she doesn't mind," declared the mother. She had a big fight with the son. It might even have been their biggest quarrel. Both of them said so many things to each other. Michael ran out of the house and left, not really having anywhere else to go. Emily was still living with her parents, while Michael's father had moved to another region. Michael wandered down the street around the house, kicking the falling leaves and wondering how to get out of the conflict situation. An ambulance pulled up to the entrance and Michael's life just collapsed in on itself. He rushed home as fast as he could. "Let me in! Let me in! My mom's in there!" he shouted, pushing the doctors aside in the narrow passage. "She's too young to be a mother. She's only 12, the doctor joked. They went to the floor above. The girl next door had appendicitis. The mother came out of the flat to the house. Michael was standing there, so they made up. The mother said he could do what he wanted, but she forbade him to come to her house with Emily. Michael and Emily got married. The groom's mother wasn't at the wedding. His father arrived with his new wife. The newlyweds lived in a rented flat. Michael's father helped out with the money. Occasionally, Michael would stop by to check on his mother's health. Soon, Anne was born. She was so little and so sweet. Michael hoped so much that his mother would come to visit her granddaughter, who was a spitting image of her. "How do you know what she looks like? You didn't see me as a child. And anyway, little kids all look alike, red and wrinkled," Michael's mother said. He didn't say anything, but he walked away from his mother with a sense of deep resentment. Only now that he was a father and had Anne did he realize that he would never leave his beloved daughter, not even for her mother. When Anne had her first birthday party, Michael thought a miracle had happened. Among the other guests, his mother showed up. She smiled and was very nice to Emily and babysat Anne all evening. The newfound grandmother gave a set of baby cosmetics, natural handmade soap and shampoo that didn't sting the eyes. Everyone was pleased. Michael thought life was getting better. A week after Anne's birthday party, she suddenly became ill. The doctors shrugged their shoulders. It seemed as if the girl was just wasting all her life's potential. It was as if she had already fulfilled her purpose on this earth, completed her mission, and left our world. The girl just fell asleep and didn't wake up. When saying goodbye to his daughter in the cemetery, the inconsolable father put a toy in her coffin, a baby monitor in disguise. "She can't go without it. She'll be scared. She won't fall asleep without her bear," Michael made excuses. "Michael, wake up. What are you doing?" "She's already asleep forever," Emily said, crying. "It's better for her, and it's better for me," Michael replied and put the toy in the coffin. The night after the wake, when the exhausted Emily fell asleep, Michael left for the kitchen. A crazy thought flashed through his mind. He picked up his phone, opened the baby monitor app, and froze. He couldn't believe what he saw. Almost in total darkness, illuminated by the flashing light of the switched-on baby monitor, his little girl was crying softly. She held the toy close to her and cried. "Emily, she's alive!" Michael burst into the room shouting. "Michael, you're delirious," said his wife. "Here, see for yourself." He shoved the phone in his wife's face. Emily stared at the screen for a couple of seconds, then suddenly snapped out of her seat. They went to dig up the grave. When they got the girl out of the grave, they immediately sent her to the doctors, but already in an independent private clinic, and at the same time the presents from her grandmother for examination. It turned out that the children's cosmetics were stuffed with some kind of newly developed substance that absorbed into the skin and put the girl to sleep. So the crazy grandmother decided to get rid of the unwanted granddaughter and separated her son from his wife. But thanks to some careless students who messed up the dosage, the sedative turned out to be weak. So much for the motherly love on the brink of madness. Thank you for listening till the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like. And also click on the bell icon so as not to miss any new videos. All the best to you.